Scott, we're back on the PC. We're checking out another PlayStation exclusive that's been ported over. This time we're checking out Ghost of Tsushima. And I think both you and I were excited to get our hands on this one. Again, I never played the original when it came out on PlayStation. Was very excited to get this one on PC. And man, have not been disappointed. This game has lived up to, the high expectations I've personally set for it. So right off the bat, if I'm going to score this one, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. And we're going to get into the reasons why I gave it a 9 out of 10 as we go here. But what are you going to give it out of 10?
I'm just a little bit lower than you. It's an 8.5, but we're going to get into that. Like I said, this game was an absolute just blowout of samurai action, and I could hardly contain myself. The excitement I had, just about every different story beat of the game and every little different action in the combat, it was so exciting to me the entire time. And it's been a long time since I played a game like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for me, the action, obviously the gameplay is where you get really pulled in, but as this game goes on, you get pulled into Jin's story. I mean, we're kind of in the samurai realm at the beginning of the game, and it's all about honor and living the samurai way, but as things progress through the game, Jin starts to realize that, the samurai way isn't what's going to save his people, and he turns to the island of Tsushima starts to call him the Ghost, and you really get to kind of go through all the trials and tribulations that he goes through in this transition of character throughout this story. And that's really, Scott, where I started to really dig my claws into this game, because I got really invested in his character and his story and the people you meet along the way that help you, and just there was so much. It felt like I was watching a movie while playing through this game, and that's really where I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. I mean, the action in this game is top notch. I found that if you wanted to completely do things stealth, you could go that way, but if you wanted to bust through the door and just, cover your blades in blood, you could do that too. And that's really what this game allows you to do. There's so many things to upgrade. There's so many stances that you can get along the way that help you fight different enemies, and the variety in all assets of this game is really where it shone for me. I was surprised at how deep this game really went, and the more I played it, I know now that I'm through the story, I loved it, but there's so much more to still do now that I'm in the New Game Plus, that I'm just having a blast so far. What were some of the highlights for you?
Oh, there's a huge amount of game to be had, and that's something that was really interesting. Was the characters is actually kind of what's drawing me through it. There's the main story you could go through, of course, but there's different characters that you meet along the way that have long, extended quest lines, and yeah. I found myself being dragged more into those than I was the main story at time. But I thought, well, I'm not really losing out on anything this way. It's all just as good. It didn't feel like any of that side stuff was stapled on, but there is maybe a little bit too much variety on that. The different collectibles you're going around, the different bamboo and things like that you're slicing through to level your character. It all makes sense, but it kind of seems like almost a little bit of a Ubisoft map scenario, where there's a little bit of icons everywhere, something everywhere. But then again, I'm not complaining. I'm a big fan of Ubisoft when they do it, and I'm a big fan of these guys when they do it. But there's something that was missing for me, and that's my first and main complaint, was that the navigation when you get into some of the cities is just really hard to follow. You will usually have this ability where you can kind of cast the winds of fate and you can see where to go, but I found when you get into a city and you're trying to find that actual just upgrade station, the swordsman, I can't find the swordsmith. I've gone through this game without finding the swordsmith this entire time, and that's really frustrating because there's so many things, like you said, to upgrade, but I feel like I'm kind of being held out of the running for that one. But aside from that, you do get into the variety of different kills you can get. And you mentioned the stealth, and that's got to be the ultimate highlight. The ultimate highlight here is I can be the ghost. Jin the ghost. He doesn't feel good about being a ghost, but I like that I can sneak and crawl under some of the buildings. You can go up through some of the hatches, through some windows. There's enough of a little bit of acrobatics here where, especially when you get the hook shot and you're starting to swing across things, it's quite interesting how that it kind of opens up new strategies for me. Now I'm diving from the rooftops and killing everybody that way. And the next area, there's no rooftops. I have to adapt, and that was something that I really, really appreciated, especially when you get into some of these enemies that are so much of a pain to fight. It's rather easier just to get everybody quietly.
Yeah, you know what? It sometimes the game does require you to get into that stealth mode a little bit more because sometimes you can't handle the amount of enemies that are coming at you, especially when the variety of enemies are out there. You've got your swordsman, you've got your swords and shield guy, you got your spear guys, and you kind of got your bigger brute style elite enemies as well, and you have 4 different stances to deal with all those enemies. But when you've got one of each of them in front of you trying to fight you, it makes it difficult to need to be able to switch between those stances. But as you get farther into the game, you actually kind of get this ghost mode that allows you to click in both sticks, and then you actually go into a slow motion version where every hit is a kill shot, and it does it in a very theatric way, and it looks amazing, and it just gives you that kind of overwhelming sense of power that you are stronger than everybody on the battlefield, and you're showing it now to the point where when you get some of these kills, it actually terrifies the enemies around them, and they actually will run away, which is for me, I thought was hilarious at sometimes, because you're just playing and you may take a guy down and then the enemy next to you just starts running away because now he's terrified of the ghost and who you've become. And there's just so many tools that you can use throughout, just outside of even the upgrading, which, like we said, there's a ton of upgrading to do in this game. You can really tailor to the playstyle you want to have in this game, which I do appreciate. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you're not getting a whole lot of direction on what you're upgrading. Like, it's showing you, it's going to show you exactly what the upgrade's doing, but you might not know exactly how you want to upgrade yourself as you go through here. So it might be, opportune to also load back into another game, a new game once you're done, to try a different way or go a different path and see if it, it works out better for you. Because like you said, Scott, there's a ton of stuff to do in this game outside of the main story. And the fact that you can get pulled into a side quest and feel like you haven't lost anything playing that side quest is it's kind of a hats off to the developers here, just to say that amount of detail and work has gone in to the fact that I can play a side quest and not feel like I've drifted from the story that much. Like, I'm just as enthralled in the side quest as I would be in the main one. And honestly, that's why I gave this one such a high score, Scott, because I've had a blast playing it, and I'm going to keep playing through this one. I'm probably not going to 100% it, because like you said, there's just way too much stuff to collect. There's a ton of it here. If that's what you're into, you're going to be in here for hours, and that's good for some people. For me, eventually I'm gonna get tired of it, but right now I still can't get enough of the action.
Oh, absolutely. No, in for a penny, in for a pound. There's a lot to do in this game, and whether you're losing yourself in some of the vistas, or if you just want to clean the entire map, you could be here for a very, very long time. And that's why I really have to recommend this game. This is a solid smash out of the park.
For sure.